When despair surrounds us, when every corner of life feels heavy, the heart begins to whisper that there is no way forward. It is in these moments, when the world feels like it has closed in on us, that a single thought matters more than anything else. Giving up cannot be the answer. Because the truth is simple, yet powerful. Despair grows when we feed it, but hope begins the moment we decide not to surrender. The question is not whether despair exists, but what we do when it comes. And in that question lies the strength that can change the direction of an entire life. The first thing a person must do when despair seems everywhere is to recognize the power of perspective. Despair thrives on convincing you that what you see is the whole truth. But perspective reminds you that what you see now is not the entire picture. Imagine two people standing in the same storm. One looks only at the thunder and the rain, believing that the storm will never end. The other looks at the horizon, remembering that storms always pass, that the clouds will break, and the sun will return. The storm is the same, but their experiences are completely different because of perspective. When you shift your view, you shift your reality. Despair narrows vision. It tells you that there are no options, no way out, no hope. But the moment you step back, the picture changes. Perspective is like climbing a hill when you're lost in the forest. At ground level, all you see are trees. But when you climb higher, you realize that the forest is not endless. There are clearings, there are rivers, there are paths leading out. The forest is real, yes, but so is the way through it. Perspective does not erase difficulty, but it reveals possibility. And when you see possibility, despair begins to weaken. So the first step in overcoming despair is not to let it shrink your vision. You must look beyond the immediate pain and remind yourself that no season is permanent. Life is full of change, and the very fact that today is not yesterday proves it. If you have endured storms before, you can endure this one too. By choosing perspective, you choose to believe that what surrounds you is not the end of your story. But perspective alone is not enough. Once you begin to see possibility, you must anchor yourself with gratitude. Gratitude may seem like a soft answer to a heavy problem, but in reality, it is one of the strongest weapons against despair. When everything feels dark, gratitude shines light on the smallest blessings that despair tries to make you ignore. It does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It means refusing to let despair blind you to what is still good. Think about it. Even in the worst moments, there is something to hold onto: the breath in your lungs, the friend who checks in, the chance to try again tomorrow, the lessons hidden in failure. Gratitude is not about denying pain. It is about refusing to let pain erase all the good that still exists. And when you focus on what you have, instead of only on what you lack, your heart begins to strengthen. Gratitude is fuel, and in despair, fuel is everything. People often underestimate how much gratitude can shift the mind. Science itself has proven that focusing on gratitude rewires the brain, releasing chemicals that lift mood and build resilience. But beyond science, gratitude is spiritual. It connects you to something bigger than the moment. When you whisper, "Thank you for even the smallest things," despair loses some of its power. Because despair wants you to believe everything is lost, but gratitude proves that everything is not. Now, with perspective broadening your vision and gratitude fueling your heart, the next challenge becomes clear. You cannot fight despair alone. No matter how strong you think you are, isolation is where despair grows loudest. Human beings were not made to carry everything on their own. When despair surrounds you, connection becomes a lifeline. Whether it is a friend, a family member, a mentor, or even a community of strangers who understand your struggle, reaching out is not weakness, it is wisdom. The danger of despair is that it whispers, "No one cares, no one understands. You are alone." But the truth is that countless people have walked the path of darkness and found light again. When you share your struggle, you do not burden others. You allow others to share their strength with you. Sometimes one conversation, one word of encouragement, one reminder that you matter, is enough to keep you moving forward. We must never forget that human beings heal in connection. A plant grows when rooted in soil, and a person grows when rooted in relationships. Just as despair thrives in silence, hope thrives in shared words, shared burdens, and shared hearts. Reaching out may feel difficult, especially when despair convinces you to withdraw, but it is exactly in those moments that connection matters most. A single voice telling you, "You are not alone," can silence 100 voices of despair. And yet, even with support and connection, despair can still press heavily on the heart. That is why it becomes necessary to not only feel, but also act. When you are frozen in despair, even the smallest movement becomes an act of rebellion. Taking one step, no matter how small, creates momentum. Action breaks the chains of despair, because despair feeds on stillness. It convinces you to stop, to give up, to do nothing. But movement, even imperfect movement, says otherwise. Think about water. Flowing water stays alive, while stagnant water grows toxic. In the same way, action keeps the spirit alive, while inaction allows despair to grow. Do not wait for perfect energy or perfect circumstances. Begin where you are, with what you can do. If you cannot run, walk. If you cannot walk, crawl. If you cannot take 10 steps, take one. Because one step forward, however small, is infinitely greater than standing still. Over time, those small actions build momentum. A student who studies for 5 minutes a day may one day pass an exam. A writer who writes 1 page a day may one day finish a book. An individual who chooses to get out of bed and face the day, even when everything feels heavy, may one day find joy again. Small steps are not insignificant. They are proof that you have not surrendered. And every step forward, no matter how small, weakens despair's grip on your life. But even as you move, it is important to remember the power of meaning. Despair feels strongest when life feels empty. When you believe there is no purpose, despair thrives. But when you rediscover meaning in small ways, hope returns. Meaning is what gives suffering context. Without it, pain feels pointless. With it, pain becomes part of a larger story. Ask yourself, why am I still here? Who needs me? What can I give? Sometimes the answer is found in serving others. Sometimes in pursuing a passion. Sometimes in simply choosing to live one more day for the chance of tomorrow. Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of the Holocaust, once said that those who had a why could endure almost any how. He discovered that meaning was the difference between those who gave up and those who held on. Meaning does not always come as a grand vision. Sometimes it is as simple as choosing to smile at someone who needs it, to share a kind word, to learn something new, to take care of your body, to love your family. These small acts remind you that your life has value, that you matter, and that despair cannot erase your purpose. Life is never meaningless unless you accept despair's lie that it is. And through it, all through perspective, gratitude, connection, action, and meaning, there remains one final truth that binds everything together: faith and vision. Faith is the anchor that keeps you steady when waves of despair crash against you. Vision is the compass that reminds you where you are going, even when the path is dark. Without faith, despair convinces you that nothing will change. Without vision, despair convinces you that there is nothing to live for. But with both, you can endure anything. Faith is not only about religion, it is about belief in yourself, in resilience, in the possibility of change. Vision is the picture of a better tomorrow that keeps you walking when today feels unbearable. Together, they transform despair from a permanent prison into a temporary season. The truth is, no storm lasts forever. No night has ever stopped the sunrise. No winter has ever silenced spring. Despair wants you to forget this, but faith and vision remind you of it every day. Hold on to your belief that the future can be better, and hold on to the vision of what that future looks like. Because when despair tries to blind you, faith and vision give you eyes to see the light that is coming. So, when despair surrounds you, remember this. Shift your perspective, fuel your heart with gratitude. Reach out for connection, move forward with small steps, rediscover meaning, and never let go of faith and vision. These are not abstract ideas. They are tools, weapons, and lifelines. And with them, despair loses its power. Because, even in the darkest night, those who choose perspective, gratitude, connection, action, meaning, and faith are the ones who see the sunrise first. If this message inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to Motiversity of Success for more powerful speeches and stories that keep your spirit alive.